Yadier Molina is back. Well, sort of. Details on what he's doing this weekend at Busch Stadium and info about the new pitcher that the Cardinals claimed on today's episode of Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Cardinals fans, I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. You find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, at Locked On Cardinals. This is a show that serves Cardinal Nation and gives the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode being brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Create an account. Use the code. It's Locked On MLB. For $20 off your first purchase. Boys and girls, this is not a drill. Yadier Molina is returning to the St. Louis Cardinals. Problem is, it's for one weekend only, so get your tickets now. The future Hall of Famer is not going to be playing, although I bet he could still throw the ball down to second base as well as any of the catchers we got on the roster. But he is going to be in uniform this weekend when the Cardinals take on the arch rival Chicago Cubs, who are in town for a 3-game series. Multiple sources have confirmed this, including St. Louis Post-Dispatch writer Derek Gould, saying that Yadi's going to be in the dugout. He's going to be in uniform. He was invited by manager Oli Marmol to do so. I'll have the link to Derek's story in the description, but Oli is quoted in that article saying it's the right thing to do for our players, our staff, and for our fan base. I want to have him around. I love the fact that he'll be in the dugout for 2 days. I think it will be awesome for players and for fans, for all of it, to have him here. And I agree. We all love Yadi. You love seeing him. He is in town for an appearance and a signing this weekend, so that's how the timing worked out. Just made more sense for him to be around the club and at the ballpark. Doesn't hurt that the Cubs are in town too. Kind of ironic that would be the team that's here when this goes down. According to Gold's story, Molina will be in uniform sitting beside Oli Marmol in that dugout starting on Friday night and for 2 games, which we have confirmed will be Saturday as well. If you remember, Mo had that big announcement that Yadi was going to join the organization ahead of that 2024 season. You know, that was coming off the dismal 23 season, but he announced it. Then he was at the warm-up talking about it, and it was something that fans were really happy to hear. Once again, we love Yadi. No reason not to have him around, although I think most people wanted him as the manager. That's the announcement they wanted, not just as some kind of special assistant. But family commitments intervened. Nothing came out of it, much to the chagrin of fans who, well, forever, we're always going to want to see Yadi and Albert and Waino around the team in whatever capacity we can have them in. We just adore them. So that's great news. Yadi back, rocking the birds on the bat again during this series against the Cubs. The other side of this that I want to bring up, at least in my eyes, I think it shows an incredible allegiance to the organization that Oli would want this to happen, not because of any personal issues that he's got with Yadi at all. From everything we know, they got along great in 2022. No issues to speak of. But we know that Oli is on the hot seat. We know he's on the hot seat right now, at least in the eyes of the fans. They think and see Oli and they think average or below average baseball. Oli was managing the club in 2022, which was Yadi's last year, and they were very good that year. A lot of that thanks to Albert Pujols going nuclear in the second half of the season, but you had the MVP year by Paul Goldschmidt, an MVP caliber year from Nolan Arenado. Unfortunately, they get upset in that opening round against the Phillies. Some blame Oli's use of Ryan Helsley in game 1 for that collapse. Then Yadi and Albert retire, and the walls came crumbling down as the Cardinals fell to an embarrassing 71-91 record, despite going out and adding Wilson Contreras to the roster. Remember, they had that whole fiasco where he comes in, he's catching, and then they're like, this guy sucks at catching. What are we doing? He doesn't know how to call a game the way we do it. They want to move him to the outfield. That all came out. It was just ridiculousness, right? You had a lot of players whose their production just dipped. You know, Goldie and Nato specifically. Tyler O'Neill, he was constantly hurt. Wasn't getting along with Oli. Jack Flaherty was a disappointment. Miles Michaelis's fade began, where he wasn't that bad. And then 2023, is when things started to really go downhill for him. Adam Wainwright was atrocious. Like, his numbers overall were terrible. We find out after the fact that he was pitching injured for most of the year, was just trying to get to 200 wins, which he finally did. But it was just a bad year. Then in 2024, the team got back to being at least competitive under Oli. They signed Sonny Gray, but then the front office goes cheap and they go get Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn instead of any real impact arms to help the rotation. They finish just over 500 at 83.79. And while that was an improvement, the Cardinal fans aren't here to see 500. That's not what we want. We want good baseball. We want smart baseball. We want winning baseball. And that's when the attendance numbers started to fade. When they only got Sonny Gray and didn't do anything else to improve that team after a 71-91 record, Cardinal fans were like, all right, screw you then. We're done. Until you prove that you're ready to be serious about this, we're done. And now the home attendance is, I think last time I checked, it was 19th in home attendance in the league, which has never happened since I've been an adult. The team is at 500 at 58-58. And when fans think about the last 3 years of Cardinal baseball, they're going to point fingers at ownership, John Mozeliak, and Oli Marmol. Fair or not to Oli, that's what's going to happen. Change is coming in the front office. We know Mo is stepping down at the end of the year. Chaim Bloom's going to take over. We don't know what his intentions are as far as who's going to manage this team moving forward. Ollie's got one more year on his current deal, but that's not going to stop him from firing him if that's something he wants to do. But it also means that he doesn't have to go out and find a new manager right away. He can just hang on to Oli if they feel like that's the best interest of the club. Now, many fans are going to see, Yadi in uniform and in the dugout and go, yeah, we want him as our manager. And they basically want 3 former Cardinals as the next manager. They want Yadi, Albert, or Skip Schumacher. In a perfect world, you'd go find all of our favorite Cardinals and bring them back. You bring all 3 of those guys, and Chris Carpenter can work with pitchers and Holiday with hitters. And you got John Jay and Daniel Descalso, get Willie and Ozzie to come back, and Mark McGuire, get a Jose Oquendo back into the fold every day. That's what all the fans would love to see, but not going to happen. But in all seriousness, the most qualified guy in this would probably be Skip Schumacher when you think about it. Already has an NL Manager of the Year award on his mantle already. Then there's Yadi, I think is the next best one, who's been doing plenty of managing already in winter ball teams, and with Team Puerto Rico has been successful with those teams too. And then you got Albert, who's been dipping his toes into things as well. So to have one of them in Yadi coming in this weekend and standing next to Oli in the dugout, I think it's kind of a ballsy move for Oli. And I commend him for it because he's thinking about the best interests of the fans and the team. And that's cool. I hope it helps them. I hope it helps them this weekend. I hope they do well against the Cubs. Maybe it'll put a few extra butts in the seats at the ballpark this weekend. I don't know. When the Cardinals were just, 2.5 games behind the Cubs for first in the division, nobody showed up then either. So it was pretty empty ballpark. So I don't think Yadi being in the dugout is going to make a huge difference, but you never know. Now, the Cardinals did add another waiver wire pitcher to the fold on Thursday. Dude's got some serious heat, has a great arm. But if it's so good, why is he even available? Well, we'll tell you why. That's coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. We've all been there before, logging on early, waiting forever for your concert tickets to go on sale, and then something happens, you get booted, and you lose your spot for the show that you've been dying to see, and that's not fun. And live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of finding your tickets, and that's where Gametime can come in and hook you up. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. The prices, they actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of endless scrolling, try, looking for the best deal. Try Gametime. Try their zone deals. They pick the best seats in your section just for you. You want to know what kind of view you got before you purchase tickets. They got you covered there. Panoramic seat views, so there are no surprises. And the price you see is the price you get. There are no hidden fees, which is something that used to drive me nuts, but I don't worry about it anymore because I use Gametime. The Gametime guarantee also has your back with cancellation protection and more. So take the guesswork out of buying your concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. It'll work for tickets this weekend against the Cubs as well. So download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X or TikTok anytime you want. Feedback always welcome and encouraged. A lot of people pretty happy looking at the shorts that I put out earlier today on YouTube and on TikTok about Yadi being in the dugout this week. And so it's good to see some positivity going online about the Cardinals because there hasn't been a whole lot of it recently. You know, after trading away Ryan Helsley and Phil Maton and Steven Matz at the deadline, the Cardinals were left with without three of their top arms of the bullpen. Like, they were gone. And we're all well aware of the lack of pitching depth in this organization, thanks to not being able to develop pitching talent as well as injuries. So we knew the team, they were going to be scrambling a bit to find guys to replace those three, not only on the active roster, but you also got to think about the 40-man roster as well. And those spots that have opened up. So the Cardinals, to fill those roles, they promoted Roddery Munoz, Ryan Fernandez, and Andre Granillo. But that still left some holes on the 40-man roster. Those guys were already on the 40-man. They ended up claiming a left-hander, Anthony Veneziano, from the Marlins on Monday, but the Dodgers claimed Luken Baker. So they essentially just swapped out the 40-man spot there. So that left them with still just 37. So 3 spots still open. So with that room, they made another wire claim, snagging 30-year-old right-hander Jorge Alcala from the Boston Red Sox. Now, I know you're thinking, 30 years old. What's wrong with this dude? He sucks, doesn't he? Well, I'm not going to say that. At this point of the season, remember, the Cardinals are looking for guys with some sort of upside. Alcala has certainly got some attributes that make you go, okay, there's something there. The first thing that you want to know about him is that he's got serious smoke in that right shoulder. Top 25 prospect for the Twins back in 2020. So I went back, go to his scouting report, had a 65 grade on his fastball. Again, the grading scale when it comes to MLB Pipeline, 20-80 grade scale, 80 the best, 20 the worst. He got a 65. And elite guys like Mason Miller, who throws 104, right, for the Padres now, he got a 70 grade. So 65 is pretty freaking good. The slider was a 55. Then it falls off. It goes to the 45 for the curve and the change control. Overall grade, they gave him a 40. Now, the report said this about him. There's no question about Alcala's arm strength. 6'3" right-hander. He can bring it. Fastball that now regularly sits in the 95, 98 miles per hour range with good life to it. His slider has become his go-to out pitch, and it can be nasty at times. Sometimes it runs into his curve. Sometimes they are distinct pitches, but the slider is much better than the curve at this point. He does have a changeup that he might not need as much coming out of the bullpen. And when I hear fastball slider guy, as a Cardinal fan, I think Ryan Helsley. That's immediately who I think of because that's kind of what he went to. He basically ditched that 12-6 curveball, as nasty as I thought it was. And he basically was slider fastball. That's all he really went with. The Twins got him. Originally, he was with the Astros, and the Twins got him in a trade that had Ryan Presley involved. And he'd been with Minnesota since 2019. Never started. Was always a bullpen guy for them. Had a couple decent years. But the command issues were consistently there for him throughout his tenure with them. Last year, he was 4-3 with a 3.24 ERA in 54 games. Strikeout per 9 at 8.9, 58 punchies in 58 and a third innings. But he also had 20 walks. But the ERA plus was 130, and that's something that you will take for sure. Like, that's good. This year was very rough with the Twins. 22 games, ERA of 8.88. The strikeouts per 9 actually up at 10.4, but so were the walks. Had 15 of those in 24 and a third innings, and he was getting hammered. Opponents were hitting 302 against him. He gave him 29 hits, 5 home runs, and 25 runs in those 22 appearances. So he was awful. He was not very good. Red Sox trade for him. They swapped minor leaguers, and that happened back on June 11th. And he's been better with Boston. 19 games, 16 and a third innings, 3.31 ERA, 18 strikeouts, still 8 walks. He gave up 4 home runs. Opponents were hitting 288 against him, which is better, but not that much better. And when he's faced the Cardinals in his career, he has pitched in 4 games, and the Cards have lit him up too. 5 runs on 5 hits with a home run in 3 2/3 innings, the ERA at 12.27. So it doesn't sound like there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to Jorge Alcala. Scott Plaza from RedbirdRants.com pointed out some things in his recent article that he put up about it, saying fastball good, walks bad. Basically what I'm telling you right now. Says the intrigue with Alcala comes from a high-powered fastball and an above-average slider that he was able to use effectively for a great 2024 campaign. Last season, the reliever had a 3.24 ERA, 24.7% strikeout rate against an improved 8.5% walk rate. Fastball currently averages 97.2, which is down slightly from last season, but still near the top of the league in velocity. Interestingly, Alcala's slider has been his most effective pitch in 24 when he threw it 39% of the time with a 32.6% whiff rate. Again, sounds a lot like Ryan Helsley to me. This year, though, Alcala has added a curveball that has become his go-to secondary pitch, but the results with that pitch have not been great. He has thrown it more often than his slider, even though each of the pitches is at or below league average in terms of effectiveness. Again, a move like this is about finding a dude with upside. All right, this is not our savior with the Cardinals. This is not your new closer. This is a dude that they want to be able to put into the bullpen and help out with getting through the rest of the season and seeing if they can get anything out of him. You know, the velo will always be intriguing, and maybe their scouts have spotted something that they can adjust and help him improve. Don't hold your breath by any means, but you know what? It's a shot in the dark, and if it doesn't work out, so what? So what? But if he can become useful and you can use him and make him effective and have him be somebody you can count on moving forward this year, maybe you keep him around into next year. It adds a fireballer, that's for sure, into the mix, which is something the Cardinals really don't have a whole lot of right now. A couple guys who can get it up in the upper 90s, but not a whole lot in the organization that's got that. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up taking place. And I still have not seen a transaction as to whether or not he is back, like if he's up with the Cardinals yet or not. You know, there was some discussion about, you know, maybe one of these other minor leaguers might, or not, I should say minor leaguers, but one of these other guys might get sent down instead. You know, like a Ryan Fernandez or an Andre Granillo or somebody, but I haven't seen anything like that yet. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Last night, big game by Cardinals top pitching prospect Quinn Matthews. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about tonight's matchup. Not going to be an easy one with the Cubs in town. That's coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't too far behind, which makes it the perfect time to lock in your season-long more or less picks for the 2025 football season, all before Week 1 kicks off. So whether you've got your eye on a big-name quarterback or breakout running backs, you know, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the game. You had preseason action last night. You're going to have more this weekend. I'm a Packers fan, for those of you who do not know. So last year, I know that early on, it was the touchdowns thrown by Jordan Love were ridiculous. Like it was like somewhere in the 20s last year. And so I made some money off that. And I haven't checked yet to where they got him at this year. But, you know, whoever you root for, whatever your favorite team may be, if you think they're going to do better or worse than what PrizePicks has listed, you ought to bet on that. You ought to put some money down on that and score big. You know, use that knowledge that you have probably received from watching, you know, your Locked On hosts that cover the NFL, just like you get it from us here at the Locked On MLB side of things. But download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code Locked On MLB. It's going to get you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All right. So maybe try that. during one of the preseason games this weekend. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, run your game. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. It's every game, every night, all season long, where you get local analysis on a national scale. You can find it on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel and, of course, wherever you listen to your podcast. So after winning the Minor League Pitcher of the Year award in 2024, we had some high expectations for left-hander Quinn Matthews. He moved up through the organization really, really fast last year and got to AAA. Kind of burned out at the end there. Didn't have as much success with the Memphis team as you had hoped, but it was at the end of the year. Fatigue might have been a thing. And then this year, due to some shoulder injuries, it just hasn't lived up to the lofty expectations that one has when you hear, hey, this was the minor league pitcher of the year in all of the minor leagues. It wasn't the just Cardinal pitcher, all of them. And he just hasn't lived up to those expectations. And again, most of that has been due to, we think, the injuries that bit him early on this season. Thankfully, they weren't like such a severe injury that he had to go under the knife at all. There was no surgery involved. So it wasn't the dreaded Tommy John, which has picked off 3 of the team's top prospects, Tekoa Roby, Sim Robertson, and Cooper Jerpy. Tekoa was a guy that I was very excited. He was having a good year, and I was hoping to see him in the final 6 weeks of the season. And now we may not see him again until 2027. That sucks. But it did take a bit before we started seeing Quinn Matthews looking like himself, or at least, more like last year's version of himself, which had everybody so excited about him. Last night, outstanding game against the Durham Bulls, minus Crash Davis and Nuke LaLoosh. They were not in the lineup. If you're a Bull Durham fan, you know what I'm talking about. But Matthews allowed just 2 hits, had 9 strikeouts and 7 scoreless innings. Of his 86 pitches, 21 swings and misses. The changeup was on point last night. Dudes were looking foolish. I was watching this game. They looked like they'd never seen a changeup in their life. And that's good, because that means that thing was dancing a little bit and really had everybody off. He did not factor in the decision, unfortunately. Memphis didn't have the lead while he was in, but they go on to win the game 3-1 thanks to another prospect, catcher Jimmy Crooks, 2-run double late in the game. But it's another solid start for Matthews, who now has a 2.35 ERA in his last 7 starts. He's dealt with a lot of control issues this year. And again, this could be injury related, or he's just having an off year. 4 starts in July. He had 15 walks and 16 in the 3rd innings. And this has been normal for him this year. The walks have been wild. He also had 22 strikeouts in those games. So, the wildness maybe helped him a little bit, but you don't like to see that. And in his first 2 games here in August, he's been much better. On the 1st of August, he went 6 2/3, 2 runs, 5 hits. The 2 runs came in on solo home runs. He walked 1. He did hit 2 guys, but he struck out 9. Now, I don't know if he hit those guys in the back or he just grazed, an elbow pad or whatever, but he did hit 2 guys plus a walk, but struck out 9. And then last night, as I mentioned, 7 innings, no runs, 2 hits, 1 walk, 1 hit by pitch, 9 strikeouts again. Perhaps he's just getting a better feel for things. Maybe he's feeling healthier. But either way, it's positive progress. And if things remain the way they are and he continues to be that kind of pitcher over the next few weeks, maybe we do see him in September with the Cardinals. Maybe he does get a start or 2, just to kind of get a feel for things, to see what it's like to be in the big leagues. I wouldn't hate that, because we know that the Cardinals rotation next year has got a lot of holes. There's some holes there, man. And we don't know exactly who's going to be filling them. Somebody's got to. And if Quinn Matthews is ready and pitches well in the spring and continues to be good this year and stays healthy, I don't see why it couldn't be him next year at the back of this rotation. So, but just some good news about Quinn Matthews. I wanted to share that with you. Cards and Cubs tonight. Yeah, tough matchup. That damn Matthew Boyd is going to be back on the mound. This will be the 3rd time the Cardinals have had to face this dude so far this year. He's coming off 7 shutout innings against the Orioles. Had 1 hiccup recently against the Brewers, who bug everybody. But other than them, he gave up 5 runs against them. Other than them, he's just been dominant. Over his last 11 starts, he's got a 1.69 ERA. Cubs, oddly, 6-5 in those games. Again, Cardinals have already faced him twice, and it sucked. It was not a good time. It was no picnic. Hasn't allowed a run against the Cardinals this year in 11 innings. He has given up just 6 hits and has struck out 12. He has owned the Cardinals. 1 game in Wrigley, 1 game at Busch Stadium. Will the power of Yadier Molina, will the momentum of what they just did against the Dodgers carry over into this weekend against the Cubs? My buddy Chuck over at Locked On Brewers said he sees a lot of cracks in the foundation for the Cubbies right now. They're not hitting the home runs. Tucker's been off. PCA has had a horrible August so far. He thinks the Cardinals can win 2 of 3. He thinks it can happen. I hope so. I think that would be great, but it ain't going to be easy tonight with Matthew Boyd on the mound. They're going to get Shota Imanaga in this series as well for Sunday Night Baseball. So 2 very good left-handers against a team who does not hit left-handers very well. Awesome. But who saw them winning 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers? Not me. Not this guy, and it still happens. So, but it could be a long night for the offense tonight, so just prepare yourself. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok, Instagram at Locked On Cardinals, and of course on YouTube as well. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. Yadi is back. Enjoy it. This has been Locked On Cardinals.